How's everybody doing today? Welcome back to another episode of Boys in the Zone. I am here with two guests that have been here before. Two other guests in spirit, but they will join another episode here soon. Anyways, we got Mike and we got Zach. And how are you guys doing, man?
Doing good,
Doing
man. Doing
good.
good.
Doing good.
Awesome, awesome. So, on tonight's docket, we're just going to be talking about the New York Giants Week 1 matchup against our Dallas Cowboys. Talk about that Steele contract, maybe dabble a little bit with the 53-man roster and who made it, surprising cuts, etc. And then predictions for the division in Week 1 and stuff like that. So, any topic we want to start with tonight, boys?
Good.
I mean,
I think that maybe we just start with the steel contracts since that's the latest in the news, and we can kind of move forward to this coming weekend.
Yeah, yep. So my thoughts on Steele, I think that all of the tackles combined, he's just sitting right outside the top 15 for tackles and average contract salary per year, which is right about where I'd imagine he would be. I think that they get out ahead of it before he hits free market and stuff like that. You lock him down, allow him to know, hey, no pressures on you, to perform. Obviously, you got to perform, but we think this highly about you before the season even starts. You've shown us in the weight room, getting in there, rehab and stuff like that they haven't saw from Lael Collins in the past. That's why he's not on this team. And I think that they really like this kid. Undrafted out of Texas Tech, and he's come and he's been a starter for us for 2 years now. So, your guys' thoughts?
Okay, Jack.
yeah, I think it's a fantastic deal for both sides. Given there's still a lot of progression, Steele is 26 years old, but I just think the contract and the way that it's laid out speaks for itself. $81 million over the span of the next 5 years, the next 2 years, a base salary of just over $1 million apiece. For them to take a project piece that has shown serious progression and start to create a cornerstone of that offensive line with it is fantastic for both sides.
Yeah. And Mike?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And if you look at the contract, the way it's broken down, it's basically a 3-year deal. So it's not like they're just like way out there 6, 7, 8 years. This guy is an up and coming player. And he's getting paid decent money, but not top money. And like you said, he worked hard to get back from his injury. I think the team likes him a lot and likes the fact that he's all in. And I heard some comments from Britt Brown, the trainer, who said like he's one of the top guys he's ever worked with, getting back as quickly as he has. So you got to like his tenacity, and I think he's an up and comer, and you can get these guys locked down and done. And to Zach's point, it didn't add any more money onto this year's cap, and so I think there's still some money left in the pie to go get CD done and eventually get Dak done this year. So I think it's left him in good hands.
Yeah, that was my next question is what is the next contract to fall? Is it a Tyler Biotish, somebody that's kind of out of the blue, or is it the big guys, the Daks, the CDs? What are you guys' takes on that?
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I've been hearing they're close on CD. I think CD's agent may be waiting to see what Justin Jefferson gets with his contract to see not that he's going to get as good a contract as just as Jefferson, but it is going to drive up the price somewhat if they wait a little bit and see what happens there. But I've been hearing a lot of rumors that they're close on CD, and I know they've been talking with Dak as well to get him done. So he's a lot of money against the cap this year and obviously next year. So he's a big deal to get done.
Yeah. Zach?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Mike. I think we'll see probably CD news around the same time that Justin Jefferson does get that deal done. I know there are three primary guys right now that are extension eligible, being Tyler Biotish, Jaron Curse may be a big name. We don't know if they're going to develop pieces to fill that role or if they're going to keep him around in that strong safety room. So any of those names bring to mind more immediate presence than anybody else. But I would expect either one of Dak Prescott or even Biotish soon, at least some point in the season, trying to get that deal done.
Yeah. You make a good point about the Ron Curse thing because in my personal opinion, I think that Overshown going down really, really hurts the Cowboys as far as leverage goes for the Jaron Curse Steele. They're a lot very similar players, linebacker, safety hybrids. I think that they really liked what they saw from Overshown as far as leadership capabilities, just in the games that he did play in the preseason and stuff like that. Man, it's so sad to see that young player go down and then not be able to be in there for his rookie year, so you can possibly go with a cheaper contract and move off of a veteran. Even though I love Jaron Curse, and then the second point that I wanted to make was just I think the Cowboys front office is seeing like this team has the makings of a Super Bowl team. If you believe that, you got to lock these guys up early so that you don't get price gouged by the time that they are Super Bowl champs. If that happens, you know. So very interesting philosophy from the front office. They typically let their guys get to free agency and then work on the contracts. Now it's kind of flip flopped, and they're getting these guys done early and pretty often right now. Moving into, or did you guys have anything on that?
Yeah, I think Stephen Jones, the way he operates, he likes to get these guys done if he can at kind of their price. If he can get a little discount, he's
Mhm.
all in on that. But when they start getting to the top of the position and the top salaries, that's when he struggles. I think when it comes to getting these types of deals done.
Yeah. Zach,
Absolutely.
just agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree.
Yep. So the Giants, Sunday Night Football, we've had their number basically since we've had Dak Prescott in the building, minus his rookie season where the Giants beat us, I think, twice that season. Ever since then, Dak has not lost in as far as my memory serves me, to the Giants. So um, now, I mean, obviously, some plays saved him with that Cole Beasley knee tap in the back of the end zone one time. But regardless, Dak has played probably his best football against the New York Giants. Do you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
he's played well against them in the past, both in New York and in Dallas.
Yeah, Zach.
yeah, I mean, throughout the division, he's had his most success against New York. I don't think that's going to waver at all moving into this year.
Mhm.
In fact, with the roster that they have, I would think that Dak has even more confidence to completely rain on down this division this year. So having them in New York week one is a huge test, but I think if you get by that with a good performance from Dak and a win out of there, I think it skyrockets the possibilities for the rest of the season.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. My question for this game, so we've heard all offseason the Dallas defense could be the very best defense in the league. How good can this offense be, though? I mean, obviously, new play caller. Dak seems to have a little bit more freedom within the play calls and audible and at the line and stuff like that. And then McCarthy is going to be, in his head talking to him from the sideline. Brian Schottenheimer with the play designs and stuff like that. How good can we actually be, though?
Yeah, I think it's still a big question to some degree. One of the things I think in this game or this matchup we're gonna have to really pay attention to is how they come out. They haven't played in the preseason, which is fine. I mean, but last year they didn't play in the preseason either, and they came out really flat against the Bucks.
Yep.
Even before Dak got hurt in that game, they weren't really playing very well. But I do think there's some major changes on the offense that it's going to take a little time to blend in. We got Cooks at the wide receiver, you got Ferguson at tight end, you got Pollard and Deuce back there in the backfield, and
Mm.
so I think it's going to take a little time for these guys to really show their wares, and hopefully like you said, it's a
Seamless
division game.
transition.
You don't want to get off into a slow start, right? We
Yep.
want to make sure you go 1-0 both in the division and in the record.
Yeah. I mean, talking about slow starts. I mean, uh, if my memory serves correctly, I think Mike McCarthy's 0-3 in home openers or just season openers. So
Yes.
one of these two things are going to change. Either the Giants are finally going to win a game against the Dallas Cowboys in the Dak Prescott era, minus his rookie season, or the Cowboys are going to win a season opener. So we will see. Zach, did you have any comments on that last question?
Oh no, I mean, I absolutely agree with it taking some time. There's going to be a lot of progression trying to put these pieces together in live form finally. I do think that the most concerning part, or I don't necessarily want to use concerning with heavyweight, but the most important position group on a field at one time is to me the offensive line. And so
Yep.
going into week one and moving past week one with the news about the Tyler Smith injury today, see how long that lingers. Hopefully he can be ready to go by the weekend. It just kind of all depends on the health of the offensive line, and there's a domino effect based off of what can happen there. So, there's a lot of puzzle pieces to put together. But if that starting five stays healthy, especially against that New York Giants defensive line, I think the offense is going to do just fine moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, and Zach, would you mind just touching on that Tyler Smith news? Just what happened? I've been sick. I saw something about it, but I didn't really pay attention to it too heavily.
I haven't seen any details posted about how it happened in practice, but it was a hamstring strain, I believe. It
Okay.
didn't seem anything serious. They said it wasn't anything serious. But of course, with hamstring injuries, you'd never want to play with that, especially with being in such a tough position at offensive tackle or offensive
Yep.
guard on the inside, having so much strain on those legs. So I don't really know how to read that right now. They just said it's not very serious and that they don't know exactly what how that's going to turn out moving into week one.
Yep.
Yeah, I
My.
heard that. I heard it happened right at the beginning of practice.
Mm,
Matter of fact, some of the media was still like observing the practice when it happened, and normally they get to watch the first 10-15 minutes of the practice, which is mostly stretching anyway. But I heard from a friend of mine said that they thought it might have been a little dehydrated also. So we'll see. He's a
It
big
happens.
man. That's a
yeah.
we'll see what happens. But knock on wood, that he comes through that okay.
So seems to be
Yeah.
like just a precautionary thing to kind of take it easy for him and get him ready for that Sunday night game. So my favorite thing about football a lot of the times is seeing these younger prospects from the draft or second year players get in there and make an impact. I think the Giants are going to be relying on a lot of rookies and a lot of second year guys to have a big impact. I mean, you think of Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal. You think about their rookies this year. John Michael Schmitz is looking to start there at center. They got Deontay Banks on the outside, and then they've got another rookie corner as well starting out there for them. We'll see how much we see Jalen Hyatt, but is there a player that you see that I mean, as far as I don't know how in depth you guys go with keeping up with Giant stuff, but is there a player that you guys think that we can exploit, whether it's one of those names I mentioned earlier or somebody else on the Giants team?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like you mentioned it. I think Deontay Banks and Trey Hawkins, the two
Hmm.
corners. I mean, they had trouble guarding CD last year in the New York games,
Yeah,
and I don't know how they're going to guard CD as well as Cooks and Gallup when he's in there with those guys there.
yeah.
It's going to be a huge test for them, and I think that's a spot we can take advantage of. In the beginning.
Yeah, I think that CD is primarily going to be working from the slot, which means that he's going to get garner, coverage from Adoree Jackson. He's had his
Mm-hmm.
number in the past, and
Yep.
you think about a big physical corner into Deontay Banks, he'll probably be on Gallup. That means that Brandon Cooks are on a sixth round rookie corner, and Trey Hawkins. I mean, that's a matchup I really like. It's one of the ones I pinpointed. Zach, did you have any?
No, that was actually my exact thought. I'll just piggyback right off of that because I think that's been one of the major uh, topics about this matchup has been how much Dak Prescott can exploit that Giants secondary with as inexperienced and as young as they are. I mean, you're going to have to put somebody like Adoree Jackson on CD, moving in and out of the slot. I mean, with so much that you can maneuver across the field, having Brandon Cooks lined up against a late round rookie that you really know nothing about, that kind of speed is, I think, going to completely open up the game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they have some good safeties there. I think that they
Mm-hmm.
added Bobby McCain, and then they have Xavier McKinney as well as a free safety who, he'll probably play a little bit on Jake Ferguson. We'll see if which safety honestly gets that role, or if it's one of their linebackers. But I think that we have a very good advantage as far as going against their defense. I don't believe that they're a strong defense. With that being said, though, you look at the strength of our team, like many are, kind of saying that we could be a top defense. I just think that we also have the advantage on defense and offense. It's interesting. One of my big uh, uh, basically things I'm going to be looking for is John Michael Schmitz versus Mozzie Smith right there, rookie on rookie in the inside. Is there any defensive matchups that you guys think that we can exploit?
I mean, I really do like Mike Parsons versus Evan Neal. I think there was a lot that he was able to exploit last year. Just with that kind of speed, Evan Neal was just completely unable, I think, to get enough depth to deal with either any of Micah Parsons' moves or his speed off of the edge. So I do like our chances at pressure and sacks in this game for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, I think one of the matchups I'm going to be watching really closely is J-Ron Curse versus Walls at tight end. I think
Mm.
Walls is going to be that security blanket for Daniel Jones, and he's a great tight end. And if he can get on his game and get going, that could cause some trouble. But I think Curse can stick with him, and if he does, that's really going to limit their offense, I believe, to really make a difference.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that Waller, we'll see what he can do. Jaron Curse, obviously Donovan Wilson's going to be, on coverage on him a little bit. Um, One of the other matchups that I'm interested to see is their left tackle Andrew Thomas against the Micah
Mhm.
Parsons, our best on their best. Is Micah Parsons really developed into that, super dominant pass rusher that I think that we've seen in preseason and training camp, or not preseason, but training camp thus far? Um, Very interesting to see it. Demarcus Lawrence absolutely obliterated Evan Neal on the other side last year. I think he had 3 sacks in that first game. So, man, it's so hard to, kind of talk about the Giants in a positive manner whenever they're going against this team, because I'm obviously biased, but I really feel like we have matchups that are positive in our way a lot of the time versus the Giants that don't. I think that they have a better kicker than us. I'm trying to think. I don't know that. I guess Daniel Jones' legs. Are we really fully capable of containing that? We'll see. I think that Damone Clark is sideline to sideline, very fast linebacker. We'll see if he's utilized as a spy a little bit more. But man, it's so hard to find a matchup as far as like if I was a Giants fan that I would like against the Cowboys. Is that kind of how you guys feel?
I think the one thing you have to just be careful of, and we struggled especially earlier in the year last year, was against the run. And Barkley's still their guy,
Yeah,
and he's dangerous. And you got to limit him on first and second down and make those guys drop back to give Micah the chance and Lawrence a chance to get there.
yeah,
And I think that's going to be the key overall to really this entire game is how we bottle up Barkley.
yeah. I mean, Barkley's dynamic. He kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Deuce Vaughn. Obviously, he's way bigger. I mean, he's way stronger. He can absorb hits a lot better, but he has that home run ability that I don't think a lot of backs in this league have anymore. And man, it's strange because like I don't want to say that Deuce Vaughn is like a miniature Barkley in a way, but he kind of is. So I think that if we can see Deuce Vaughn in the game exploiting that matchup as well, I think that Deuce Vaughn can do some good as well and hopefully get some home run plays for us. You guys kind of feel the same about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that type of skill set doesn't come around too often in measurables like that. So to be able to see him behind this healthy offensive line and see what he can do out of the backfield is going to be very interesting, paralleled to Saquon Barkley. I mean, I'm also very interested to see our linebacker unit against Saquon Barkley, just given the injuries and some of the depth concerns there. So it'll be interesting to see how much they can take on their shoulders and if anybody else actually needs to pick up slack there.
Yeah. Mike, did you have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, last year the game in Dallas, they held Barkley to 3.5 yards a carry. If they can
Mm.
do that again, I think they'll be in good hands.
Yeah, yeah. I think that Barkley's there. that's their main weapon. So, I mean, we'll see how much Waller has an impact on the game. Real quick, got to shout out Mike Tag in the building, um, legendary Cowboys content creator, in my opinion. I'm excited to get him on the show here soon.
Yeah,
But for me, I think that the biggest thing is just bottling up Barkley, like you said. If we can hold him to 3.5 like that, what game was that? The second game or the?
that was the second game in Dallas. The game up in New York, he was at 5.8
Oh, okay,
per carry. He had that one big run
yeah,
up
yep.
there. But yeah, so I mean, the game in Dallas, he had 19 carries. And it was like 3.5 a carry. So I think, again, that's really where we need to hold him to.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they're going to utilize more quarterback runs. We saw Daniel Jones was no slouch when it came to running as a quarterback last year. We'll see if they get the option game going with Barkley and him. For me, I think that just treading back a little bit to the Deuce Vaughn talk, Deuce Vaughn. I'm gonna be so heartbroken if Deuce Vaughn is inactive for that first Sunday night game, man. That'll probably put a damper on my whole night. But I just had to get that out there. You guys kind of feel the same,
Yeah.
or?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. There's going to be some screens. There's going to be some leakage out of the backfield with him, and he's not going to be inactive. He's going to be on the game day. He'll be getting some plays
I'm holding you to that, Mike. Man,
for sure.
they better get him out there, man. And it's strange because how many truthful touches do you get, Deuce Vaughn? Like carries, you might give him maybe 4 carries, and then have another
3 or 4 touchdowns.
5 pass design, where he's actually running a route. But I mean, he's your third running back. How much can you actually dictate the game? Going towards Deuce Vaughn's way. I don't know how much you can utilize him week one until you can see what he can do. But overall, man, Deuce is going to be super super exciting to watch. Let me read this from the chat. Let him run. Mozzie is there to stuff that. He will eat week one and get that run stopped. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think that Mozzie he's been up and down in the preseason. I think that all of us can agree with that. That
Mhm.
last preseason game, he impressed me. His get off is still a little bit slow, but his pad level and just his legs were constantly moving, driving that center back or that guard back, that whichever guy he was on. But overall, I'm excited to see him against another guy that was one of my pet cats in the draft, John Michael Schmitz. You
Mhm.
guys, you guys kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, I do think Mozzie got better the last preseason game with his technique.
Yeah,
He's like you mentioned, he's still a little slow off the get, off the snap. But his technique was better in that game. So maybe he's settling down a little bit. Maybe he's feeling a little more comfortable. But don't forget, we have Hankins there as well. And when they traded for him last year, and both him and Van Der Esch played
yeah.
together, the run defense was improved. And so he's healthy. And I think they can rely on him for a little bit until Mozzie gets his feet under him for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, Mike. I mean, Hankins is a big, big factor for this run game. He has to be in there clogging the lane. Zach, do you have anything on that?
No, I completely agree. I think the interior defensive line is a lot stronger than it has been. Now you're getting a full season of Jonathan Hankins, being able to have rotational value along with Mozzie Smith. So obviously the reps are going to come down for Mozzie going into the regular season versus preseason, but I do think it's a good chance for him to take the time and perfect that technique that he's been getting better on. Also learning from Hankins at that one technique. So it's going to be there, and like we've said before, it's going to take time. But he's going to have a good test week one and improve from there.
Sure.
Guys, what is your honest expectations for Luke Schoonmaker here week one? Zach, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I do think it's still at blocking value right now. Obviously, we've had many discussions where you
Mm.
don't spend a second round pick on someone to just make some key blocks for you. But with Ferguson and what he's been able to display and how much they think of him already, pulling him from after week one of the preseason and bubble wrapping him until now, I think that's going to be your showcase kind of guy moving forward. But I do think primarily in the run game, 12-13 personnel, that Schoonmaker is going to be more leaned on for blocking. And if you can shoot him out there into the flats or anything on play action, especially where Dak Prescott likes his tight ends, I
Mm.
think there's some chances for him there. Absolutely.
Mike?
Yeah, I think he's a guy who, I think he's on the bubble to be activated or not for this game.
Mm.
Because you got Lipke too back there, who obviously he's going to have some plays on special teams also. But I look at Hendershot and I think if you need a guy who's going to really make a difference in the seams and get the speed going. He's a guy who he's much taller than the Giant safeties, and he can make a difference there. Um, I know it would look really bad if they left Schoonmaker inactive because he's their second round pick,
It
and
happened
and
with
so
Jalen Tolbert last year.
Yeah,
yeah, it did. The
for sure.
optics wouldn't look great,
Yeah.
and so that might come into play. But that's one of the guys I'm hearing just
Ooh.
watching.
So Mike has the hot take
Yeah.
right there. Could be an inactive for Schoonmaker week 1. So in the chat, got to shout out this guy, Falcon 00, been kind of active. So 3 to 5 catches with 20 to 30 yards tops is what I see from him week 1. Personally,
Great.
I see him with like
Yeah,
2 catches,
absolutely.
but I do see him getting a touchdown. I think that you saw it in that preseason game, game 3, when Dak was calling the plays. He likes to throw it down there in the end zone, and especially on
Yes.
first down. So if you can get the little boot action out to the out to the sidelines, and then Dak just dumps it off for an easy touchdown. I think we could see that from Luke Schoonmaker, especially if he's in there for the blocking packages. Um, for me, I think I'm really excited, and I mentioned it earlier. Kind of, I think that we have a mismatch against these Giants corners. I'm excited to see what Jalen Tolbert can do. I mean, fourth wide receiver coming into this game, but uh, if you like a matchup, he does. He's different from all the other receivers on this team right now, in my opinion. Can do a little bit of everything, but I personally think that the long ball to him could work as well, just because they're expecting Brandon Cooks or Michael Gallup right there in those balls, and possibly a corner is going to sit on a route, and you can go long to a Jalen Tolbert. So I would not be surprised at all if he had 40 plus yards in this game. What do you guys think? That's out of the realm of possibility, or
I think
No,
if your
not at
fourth
all.
wide receiver is getting 40 or 50 yards in a game, I mean, hopefully that means
Yeah,
that everybody's eating, so
yeah?
that's good.
very true.
I mean, we've seen it with Cedric Wilson in the past. I mean, our wide receiver 4 uh, can have production in the offense. Obviously, a little bit different offense from what we ran then. But Dak is not opposed to looking towards different reads and getting really into his progressions deep. So, Zach, did you have anything on that?
Yeah, I was just about to say that Dak Prescott is, he does not shy away from spreading out the ball to as many guys as he needs to. So I mean, he'll really love to look at the holes, especially in his zone defense for guys that are not getting as much attention as others. So I think it's absolutely possible that Jalen Tolbert can come in rotational and get a couple catches, maybe 10, 15, 20 yards. Absolutely.
Mm. Chat's bringing up a good point right here. So as long as the receivers don't play hot potato this year, he thinks that they have a good chance of getting our fourth wide receiver involved. Basically, it's what he's insinuating. I completely agree. I think last year our wide receivers didn't have that my ball mentality, and it got us in trouble a lot of times. Especially Michael Gallup. I didn't know if he could really break on balls like he wanted to. And then some of the other guys, the younger guys, the Hendershots, the Fergusons to an extent, just need to just grab the ball, lock it into those hands, and not let it come out, not let it bounce up. Uh, do you guys have the same feeling about that last year?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be important to pay attention to the way this offense is going to be called and run because we don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, you look at McCarthy's offenses in the past and Schottenheimer, and there's kind of a meld of that. And then there's some stuff they're taking that is left over from Kellen Moore, and so you really don't know. The one thing I'm hoping I don't see a bunch of is the 10 or 11 yards and hooks, and just let's get a little more creative than that, and so when you watch the all 22, especially from
Mm,
last year, you see a lot of those route concepts
the
of
hooks, the
10, 12
curls,
yards,
comebacks,
stop and turn. Yeah, I
hitches.
mean, I don't want to see that anymore.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, I mean they would go for, the first two or three drives you would see some aggression there, and it's like if they kind of figured it out along the way, they thought they could just start playing conservative, and you know how Kellen Moore loved to find the first down marker and just sit everybody down right
Yep.
there. So I don't think they try to choose that route at all anymore, especially with Dak Prescott taking his hands a little bit more into the on the field presence there. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's my thing I'm most excited to see with this new offense. I think that the West Coast offense is built on getting quick hitting plays, getting your QB in rhythm, allowing him to see things fast and precise, and it's not going to allow those corners to really sit on routes. I think that's what got us in trouble in that 49ers game. Their
Mhm.
defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, really understood exactly what we wanted to do. Knew that if you got us in a third and long, we would only be looking to go towards the marker and stop and come back, so the quarterback didn't have to make a ballsy throw. And in my opinion, I'm really hoping that we can kind of be more like a Philly offense, which is if we are taking our deep shots, it's along the sideline. So if it's incomplete, it's incomplete. It's not intercepted instead of the long balls over the middle. And as far as that stuff goes, man, I'm just super excited for the outlook of the offense. Obviously, it's kind of a wait and see, but I'm positive. I'm overly positive about it. What is your guys' thoughts on it?
I want to see more crossers.
Yeah,
They get these DBs on their back, and with the speed they have, especially with Cooks running across the field like that, not many DBs are going to be able to keep up with them. And
yeah.
there's they're running these crosses, and there's traffic in there, and once the DB kind of hesitates, you can open up a lot of space. And to your point, get the ball out of Dak's hands, get it to the playmakers, and let them go run.
I think real quick, Zach, before you jump in here, I think the biggest thing I've seen as far as preseason and then training camp is they use all three levels of the field. To your point, Mike, they have the short shallows, they have the crossing routes, they have the rub routes, they have the long balls, they have sluggos back on the menu. Every route is back on the menu for this team, and I think that's going to pay huge dividends for this offense moving forward. Zach, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. The expansion of the route creation along the wide receiver room has been incredible to see in training camp and the preseason. Of both attacking the sidelines and trying to get crossers use a lot of that speed across the middle of the field. But something I also did notice in training camp was they're implementing a lot of more mesh concepts into the offense.
Hmm?
That's not something you really saw under Kellen Moore utilizing the short depth with your tight ends, your backfield, or your slot receivers. I think that's going to pay dividends in catching people off guard in the flats and in the middle of the field as well.
Yeah, and I think that Kellen Moore got caught too many times using his running back as primarily a blocker. I don't know if that's because of the offensive lines. We don't know how good they are going to be with the rookie starting and all this stuff. But utilize your running back in the passing game more. I think that we're going to see that this year. I would not be surprised if Tony Pollard has a 4 or 5 catch night week one. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we go 13 plays that start, that opening drive and get a touchdown just because of how methodical, how quick hitting these plays are going to be from Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer. So we'll see. Only time will tell. But one thing I wanted to get into pretty early on is just predictions for the game. So, and specifically, like, I'm going to give you guys some numbers. So I'll say, like, Dak over or under 300 passing yards. We'll just start with that. And you guys will tell me over or under, and that's how we'll roll. Chat, if you want to play, go ahead. So that's the first one. What are you thinking, Zach?
I'm going to say over. Just kind of piggybacking off of what we talked beforehand with a lot of the youth and inexperience in that secondary for the Giants. I just can't see how this wide receiver room coming in fully healthy, a fully healthy offensive line to give Dak Prescott the time he needs right now. It's going to be a good test in the trenches, but I do think that Dak can easily have a 350-yard night week one. He's shown it the past couple of years to come out into week one very strong. So that type of speed that can beat over the top really is going to help him out.
Mike?
Yeah, I believe he can have a 300-yard game. I'm hoping it's not because he's thrown the ball 45 times, but I do think he's going to get some plays that are open and there for him to cash in on for sure.
I think that Mike, you kind of hit the point I was gonna make with him throwing a lot. I think that Dak didn't get to play in the preseason. He has the ability, the command of the offense now to change and stuff at the line of scrimmage and get into plays that he thinks are best. Obviously, he's the quarterback; he's going to want to throw. I think 300 yards is completely in the realm of possibility. I honestly think he can go for 330 plus. Just knowing that he didn't play any preseason and wanting to get out there and sling it to his new weapons. I see 300 easy. We'll see. But ultimately, I'm really excited to see Dak back in uniform, back fully healthy, not with a broken finger, slinging the ball around. Here's the next one: over or under 120 combined yards rushing and receiving for Tony Pollard. That's a pretty big night.
Yeah, I would go under in that case, and the reason I would is because I believe the strength of the Giants defense is their run defense.
Okay.
Lawrence is in there, and Thibodeau. I know he rushes the passer a lot, but they do have a really solid defensive line.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's going to be tough for Pollard to find some space running between the tackles. And they're going to be hyped up. They're going to be doing their thing. So I would go under on that one.
real quick, Zach. So just talking about the defensive line for the Giants, I mean, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, they got Azeez Ojulari, and then Kayvon Thibodeau. That's a pretty solid group that they've built over the past couple of years. Good point, Mike. Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to agree with the under on that, although it's very hard to not go the over with it just because Dak Prescott loves Tony Pollard in the passing game, especially with Tony Pollard's ability to get into open space and make people miss after catching the ball, all of his yak ability. So if you're talking combined yards there between rushing and passing, I'd hate to go under with it, but I'm going to go ahead and say under just because of the rushing ability and how it may halt with that Giants defensive line.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and not to interrupt, sorry,
No,
EJ,
you're good.
but when you think about a lot of these runs are going to be to the outside, I believe. There's going to be a lot of dump offs in the flat to the running backs. I think they want to make those big guys for the Giants run sideline to sideline, see if we can tucker them out, beginning of the year, kind of see how good a shape they're in.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we got chat right here. 35-14, Dallas wins. Dak with 325, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Pollard with 95 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. A defensive touchdown is then the prediction, and Dallas with 3 total sacks. So pretty in-depth right there, but
Yeah.
I like it, man. So here's the next one. Now, if you know anything about CeeDee Lamb, I tweeted this on my Twitter recently. He has upped his yards per game at least 10 yards per game each season he's been in the NFL. So with that being said, for him to continue that streak, he would have to have average of 90 yards per game. Do we see over or under for CeeDee Lamb with 90 receiving yards?
I'll take the over with that one, just because I think the offense is going to be spread out completely. But CeeDee Lamb, kind of going into last year, the big question around with everybody was, can he fill in this wide receiver role or wide receiver one role after Amari's departure and everything? I think he is solidified in that role now, as much as how much speed they're going to have to cover in that secondary, giving CeeDee Lamb a lot of chances out of the slot for yak ability, especially up and down the sideline. So I do believe that 90 yards is absolutely attainable for CeeDee Lamb.
Okay. And Mike?
So I would go under on that one, and the reason being is because I think he has the hardest matchup of the wide receivers when it comes to Adoree Jackson's a a good corner. He's not great, but he's a good corner. And CD has played against him in the past. Obviously, has had some success. But I think the other wide receivers are going to get more open opportunities. I think Gallup is better than Hawkins. I think Cooks is better than Banks, and I just think that those guys are going to get more open space, which is going to maybe take a little off the plate of CD. Because when you look at the games, he had last year, he a lot of times he was the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what's chat saying. It's I'd say over on that, but the biggest issue with him not getting over on it would be the talent the wide receiver room has. Comes down to that pick your poison of who it is, which I agree with. I mean, you got Lamb, Cooks, Gallup, you got Tolbert in the room as well. Throw in your tight ends, Ferguson, Schoonmaker, Hendershot, and then you know what Tony Pollard could do as a receiving back. So personally, for me, I believe that. It I think that the Cowboys are more focused and honed in on getting their wide receiver active in the game early and often. I think that's a big thing that Brian Schottenheimer and Mike McCarthy want to put into place. With that being said, I think he's going to be used in more motions and work inside from the slot. That gets you manufactured touches as well just by playing in the slot. So he's going to get matchups where he's on the linebacker, where a safety has to cover him sometimes. The Giants aren't just going to completely stick into that nickel coverage the entire game, or else we're just going to run it down their throats. So we will see, but I'm going to go over on that one. So the next one, I'm going to flip to the defensive side. Combined, so either or of these players can have this. Gilmore and Diggs combined for at least one interception. You guys think that's a yes? You take that over or no?
I do. Go ahead, Zach.
Oh, I think we're probably in agreement on it. I just know Danny Dimes' history with throwing interceptions and sometimes his ability to force it when he's pressured on. I know he can move around the pocket very, very well, but with receivers being locked down heavily by Stephon Gilmore and the ball hawk ability of Trevon Diggs, it's going to be very, very hard for Danny Dimes to be aggressive and that not happen between either of the two.
Okay, and Mike.
Yeah, I think that the Cowboys are going to be ahead late, and he's going to be forced to throw, and that's where I think he's going to give us a couple.
No, Mike, you make a great point right there. It's just I think that the defense marrying this offense, because I don't know that the Cowboys, their defense is so good and their offense is, I would say, probably top 10. I don't know that the Cowboys are going to be playing from behind a lot of the times in these games, which means that forces the opponent to play into our defensive strengths, which is the passing game. With these corners we have on the outside, Gilmore, Diggs, you got Bland in the slot, or Lewis, depending on who you use. You got that elite pass rush that bends off the edge and can get some pressure. It's going to be, man, it's going to be hard for the Giants to really get going with their run game if we got an early lead, kind of what you're saying, Mike. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna say yes, that does happen. We'll see, if they can actually get two or more. But I'm gonna say they at least combine for that one. Next one I want to ask is Damone Clark is going to lead. This is just like a yes or no kind of a thing. Damone Clark will lead the team in tackles on Sunday night.
You go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be Van Der Esch.
Okay.
That would be my pick, who I believe would lead the team in tackles. But listen, if Damone Clark is leading the team in tackles, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah. Yep. Zach?
Yeah, I was going to say Van Der Esch as well, just because of how much they are going to try and lean on Saquon, I think, early in the game. Although if they are forced to pass, like Mike had brought up in the previous segment, that I do think Jaron Curse being in that nickel linebacker type of role or in the back end of the defense, if they're having to pass a lot, I think he can be up there for tackles as well.
Yeah, I was thinking Donovan Wilson for me. just force the pass. That's gonna lead to some receptions down the field a little bit. We'll see, but ultimately, I wouldn't be mad if Damone Clark led the team as well. So I'm gonna say no for that. We got my boy Eric in the chat. Got to say what up to him. I'm gonna be getting him on a podcast episode here soon. Now the next over under kind of a thing. Micah Parsons, 1.5 sacks. So he has to get over 1.5. So he has to get 2 if you're going to take the over on this. We'll start with Mike.
Yeah, give me the over.
Nothing else to say about it.
I just think he's just looked so good in the preseason, and I think he's so revved up for this. He's probably going to have 1 or 2 offside penalties too. Give me the over on that one. But he's like hyped up. He's ready to go. And I just, in watching the games from last year against the Giants, I don't know if that tackle is left out there to try to block him, and he knows they got to pass. I just don't think he can do it.
Yeah, I mean Andrew Thomas, he's no slouch here. I mean,
no, he's not. But he got him last year twice in the Thanksgiving Day game.
Yep.
And I think if he knows they're going to pass, he's going to be left out there on an island.
Chat is right there with you. Zach, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, what's understood doesn't always have to be explained. I think Micah Parsons is going to have his way at times throughout the game. I think 2 is a very easy number. I wouldn't be surprised at more.
Okay. Well, I'll just throw one here on the fly. Does Micah Parsons get a forced fumble, or does he finally get his first career interception?
Oh man, I don't know if he gets the interception against this offense. I know offenses do like to use Micah as a read a whole lot, especially with a mobile quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see. But I do think the first interception, at the very least, comes this year if they're able to use him off of the edge a little bit more.
Forced fumble though, are you taking that bet? If you're stacking up your parlay, absolutely. You got your parlay going. And you got to add one more to kind of set it over the top. Micah Parsons forced fumble or interception. You're taking that, Zach?
The forced fumble, absolutely. With the sack ability, the way he's able to chop down on the quarterback when he takes a sack, absolutely. He's going to get the ball out of their hands.
Okay. And Mike?
Yeah, I take the forced fumble also. I think he comes off that edge, and his Jones' back is to Parsons. And I think he's going to come around and knock the ball out for sure.
Okay. So this one's on the flip side. This is a Giants question. It kind of relates to the Cowboys though. But over or under 50 yards rushing for Daniel Jones? Go ahead, Mike.
So I'm going to take the under there. I feel like the Cowboys linebackers and safeties are very quick, and they're very good tacklers. And I think he might get out, he might get loose for a little bit, but I think they can catch up and get him down pretty quick.
Okay, and Zach, did you hear the question?
Yeah, if you could repeat that, I'm sorry. I had to ask my wife a question real quick.
No worries, man. Over or under on Daniel Jones rushing for 50 yards or more?
I'll take the under on that just because I do think they're going to have to force him to pass a lot more. Obviously, with him dropping back in the pocket, he's able to scramble really well. He may use his legs to pick up a couple first downs here and there, but he's going to at some point have to force the ball further downfield than just taking it into his own hands. So I'll take the under on that one.
Okay. And we'll see about this one. I'm kind of hoping. But this is the last one. Kevontae Turpin, a return of 20 yards or more, over or under?
I'll take the under.
Okay.
I think the Giants kicker has got a strong leg. He's probably not going to get many kickoff opportunities. So I'll take the under on that one.
Okay. And Zach?
Yeah, I'll have to agree on that one as well. I think we're going to see a lot of out of the back of the end zone or fair catches in the punt game as well. So I don't know that Turpin is going to be the largest asset in this game or on special teams, but no more than what you had said.
Oh man, I'm gonna agree with chat here. I'm gonna say over. I think that Turpin's gonna get one of these nice little run backs on the punt or a kick return. We'll see. set us up with a
Absolutely.
short field, and we'll get some points at the end of half, hopefully.
That'd
Um,
be nice.
Would
uh,
be. Absolutely. I'll take that all day.
but the chat also is mentioning the new fair catch rule could play into the factor with that, which is a solid point.
Mhm.
Guys, what is your most exciting, like, I guess, like, what gets you most excited for this game?
Well, for me, it's game
Week one
one,
of the
right?
football. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Just
hey,
week
it's
one.
time to go, right? I am interested in seeing. I know we haven't spent a lot of time discussing it, but I am interested to see Pollard and
Back from
you
the
know,
injury.
yeah, like how's he doing? How's he feeling? How's he running?
Mm,
And there hasn't been a lot of times where he's the guy, carrying 20, 25 times, and not even back in college. I
mm.
mean, I know EJ, I know you're a big college guy. You watch a lot of film, but
Yep. Former wide receiver.
college,
So yeah.
yeah. So I'm interested to see how he does and how he holds up, um, and as the game progresses, like what they look like from a rotation standpoint with the running backs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. How much do they actually use Rico Dowdle? I mean, he's a guy with some injury past as well, coming from South Carolina. So we'll see, and then we'll see how much Deuce gets in there. That's a good point. Zach, what would you think?
I'm mostly excited to see actually the newest additions to the team of both Gilmore and Cooks. I want to see
Mm,
how Cook Speed can actually take over the top there. I know Dak is absolutely going to be able to utilize it, so I'm just very excited to see how they mesh with these groups that have so much experience together, and how much it can actually take them over the top after trading for them. That's the expectation.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, so I mentioned earlier before we even went live is I wanted to get your guys' prediction on the rest of the division. So obviously, I don't think any of us are picking against the Cowboys week one. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we got the Cowboys. They would be leading the division no matter what happens if that's the case because they have the division win. So they'd be in first place. Now the Eagles play the Patriots. The Commanders play the Cardinals. Does anybody have any hot takes on those teams or a week one upset?
I don't. I think it's going to go
I don't think
status
so.
quo. I think the Eagles are going to, come out and show that they're a very good team, and they made it to the Super Bowl and they want to get back there. And I think from a Commander standpoint, I don't know. I look at the Cardinals, and the Cardinals want to lose.
Yeah, yeah, they're going for
It
Caleb
seems like
Williams.
that's their
Yeah.
goal. They want to
Yeah,
lose these games. So that's just how I see it.
yeah, and I don't know how well of a motivator their head coach is, anyways. Jonathan Gannon coming over
Oh,
from the Eagles, if you guys know.
you
Right.
got that fire in your gut.
Zach, what was your
Isn't that
thoughts
what
on
he said?
those? Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't think there's anything too exciting throughout those two games. I mean, the Eagles, it's always a good test to go up against a Bill Belichick led defense, but I think it's going to go as everybody thinks. I think the Commanders are going to take what the Cardinals pretty much want to do, and then Philly's going to come out and be, even with any regression they may have, be that team that we expect them to be against New England.
One thing I think a lot of people are kind of overlooking about Philly is they're an old team. I mean, they got some old guys that are superstars over there. And, kind of piggybacking off of that idea is they were very, very healthy last year as well.
Mhm.
If you know anything about football, old guys typically don't make it completely healthy throughout a whole entire season. Lane Johnson didn't get injured until the very end, which he's typically injured at least 3 or 4. Like he's the Tyron Smith of the Eagles, if you know anything
Mhm.
about them. Um, and then Jason Kelsey, he's 36. They got Fletcher Cox and all those boys that have been there for seems like forever. We will see how healthy the Eagles can be. I mean, AJ Brown, he was injured a lot with the Titans. So I think that health plays a huge, huge part in how far you can go and make a playoff run. I'm interested to see if, I mean, obviously I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I am interested to see if some of those guys do end up hurt, how Jalen Hurts really does look with lesser cast around him. I mean, he got the huge contract this offseason. You know, we tell Dak all the time, hey, you got to play up to your contract. Same thing for Jalen Hurts. So he's got a really big test in the Patriots. One of the best defensive minds there in Bill Belichick, Week 1. Um, I don't think um, I don't think that the Cardinals will be a big test for the Commanders. I think that they should pretty easily handle them. But we will see. I think that the division minus the Giants go undefeated the first week. Chat, do you have any questions for us? Leave those in the chat. I'm going to read this here from the chat as well, though. They are older, but also lost 7 starters and both coordinators. That is massive. Cannot overlook that as well. Yeah, I think that Jonathan Gannon is it's kind of addition by subtraction. Honestly, I didn't think he was very good, and I think that he set into his coverages a little bit too long. Didn't make the adjustments needed as early as he should have. But their offensive coordinator was directly the reason why Jalen Hurts made such a big push in their offense and in general made such a big jump from that first year to the second year with Jalen Hurts as a starting quarterback. Obviously, I don't want to make it seem like Jalen Hurts isn't a hard worker and stuff like that. He did work as well. But I think that is massive. I think the chat's right. Their offensive coordinator was very, very good, and he designed their entire playbook around Jalen Hurts. Is that kind of what you guys feel as well?
I think obviously when you lose coordinators, it changes things.
Yeah.
You know, regardless if the people that are replacing these coordinators were there or not, it does still change things. I mean, you know, the Cowboys in the '90s had Wanstead and Bruce Davis, or Butch Davis, and then Dave Campo. All those coordinators all came from the same cloth, but they were different in how they called games and what they did and techniques they used.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there will be some changes. I do still think the Eagles are, one of the top 3 teams in the NFC, and barring anything, catastrophic, I think they're going to be there at the end, and it's going to be us and them battling it out. But I do think Jalen Hurts also maybe regresses a little bit. He played great last year, but they also surprised a lot of people. They kind of snuck up on him a little bit. And I don't think that's going to happen. And Belichick, he's sitting there watching film as we're speaking, so
Yep. Zach?
Yeah, I'll completely agree with that. I do think losing the coordinator, regardless of who you bring in, you have to look at Jalen Hurts' success last year, how he was able to surprise people like Mike just mentioned. So I highly doubt they don't try to build off of that somewhat, using a lot of offensive read or quarterback reads. It's going to be very, very key in his development with this offense, especially guys that have come back, guys that have stayed. But I mean, kind of like you mentioned, EJ, if there is an injury to that wide receiver core there, you almost have to completely change up what you have built with Jalen Hurts, because are you going to trust his arm, or are you going to trust his legs moving forward? At some point, he's going to have to showcase that arm a little bit more, and we still don't even know exactly what that looks like just a couple 4 years into his career.
Yeah. Yeah, so the other team I wanted to kind of bring into the discussion, Mike mentioned, the Eagles being one of those top 3 teams in the NFC. I think that he's alluding to the 49ers being that other team with the Cowboys. For me, I think that they probably have the biggest test out of these top 3 teams for the NFC in Week 1. They play the Steelers. I think the Steelers are a sneaky good team this year. Kenny Pickett looked really good in the preseason. Pickens has looked great during training camp and preseason. They've got a very, very good defense. They've added even more. They picked up one of the pet cats as well for me out of the draft, Nick Herbig, out of Wisconsin. He's looked really good in the preseason. So I'm interested to see. I personally am betting that the 49ers are not going to have another season like last year. They went 13-4 after starting like 1-3 or something like that. I see a lot of regression. Brock Purdy, who knows what he actually is? Obviously, you got one of the best offensive coordinators in the league, or head coaches, should I say, and Kyle Shanahan, one of the best offensive minds, should I say, I guess. But overall, I kind of see a little regression for the 49ers. Are you guys kind of with me on that, or what do you see?
I mean, I think that defense carries that team quite a bit, not just the mind behind the scheming and everything within that offense. So I don't think there's going to be any real regression. In fact, they have completely went blank on his name from the Eagles that just signed with San Francisco this year on the defensive line.
Javon
Um,
Hargrave.
Agreed.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think that defensive line is even stronger than it was. So, I don't think they're going to regress in that area at all, but it has to completely depend on how quarterback friendly they're going to keep that offense with Brock Purdy because you just shipped Trey Lance off to us. Now you have two options, him and Sam Darnold. And if Brock Purdy is not the answer that he was for, that long stretch last season, then they're in a lot of trouble on the front end of that offense.
Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah,
that one thing to kind of put out there for discussion is 13-4. The year prior, they were 10-6. We've seen them make playoff runs. That's not a question with them. For me, I just don't know that they're going to be one of those super top teams. I really don't. I would bet if I'm a betting man, I would think that they were going to be like the third or fourth seed. Truthfully, now that's putting a lot of faith in one of those teams like the Saints or the Falcons or somebody that has a cupcake schedule to stack up more wins than them, even though they're a lesser team. But overall, we will see. I don't think that they're going to have another 12+ win season. Mike?
yeah, I agree with a lot of your takes, and Zach as well. A couple things with the 49ers. I think they play an easier division. When you look at, they have Seattle, they've got the Rams, and they've got the Cardinals. So I think from a divisional standpoint, they have the best opportunity to get wins in the division. I think Purdy is coming back again, a lot with him as well. He was kind of an unknown last year, and this year teams are going to have a little more time to be ready for him. And then lastly, I think D'Amico Ryans was a good defensive coordinator. That's what earned him the opportunity to become a head coach.
Yeah.
And Steve Wilkes going in there and replacing him, as obviously the philosophy is not going to be exactly the same. And I still look at the Dallas game and against the 49ers in the playoffs, and it just seemed to me that D'Amico Ryans was a step or two ahead of Kellen Moore every
Yeah.
part of that game.
Yep.
And I don't know, if there was some tells in the film or what there was, but it just seemed like they had their number. Every play they ran, they were right on it. And but I do think the 49ers are still going to get 12 wins because of the division they play in and their schedule.
Really. I'm interested. The big thing for them is, what do they get from the Rams? Is Matthew Stafford back from that spinal whatever thing happened? Is he going to play like he years prior, or is he going to play like he was last year, where his interception, at least 2 interceptions every single game he played, kind of a thing? Who knows? I think that the Seahawks are kind of sneaky. They have really good weapons on the outside. They built a nice duo in their cornerback room, drafting Witherspoon. Then they got who was it? Their other cornerback.
The rookie last year.
Yeah, their rookie last year.
Now
I've gone blank on his name, but
huge guy.
Yeah. Either way, they've got a nice little duo in corners. They've got a decently good offensive line. I think that we could see a nice little season by the Seahawks. Now, jumping back to chat, here's a question. My question would be over or under on Micah as Defensive Player of the Year. We won't stretch for MVP, but this fire, he's got to get that.
Yeah.
What's your guys' takes on that? Over or under?
The other thing I was going to mention is, Justin Bosa still isn't signed. Now, they'll probably get him signed this week before the Steelers game. I'm imagining they would. I mean, I would if I was in their shoes, but he's still not signed. But to me, the odds are definitely with Micah being Defensive Player of the Year as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah. Zach, your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of keying on what they said in the chat that when you see a guy with that type of hunger already, that is a specific objective that they are chasing, it's very hard to stop that, especially with his skill set. So I love him for Defensive Player of the Year this year. Obviously, I'd love to see the first non-quarterback MVP this year too, in a very long time for him to get that. But he can make a case for it, and I just think that the next level of progression with him sitting steady at 10, 13 sacks, what he's gotten in the first couple of years of his career, him being able to key in on just the line of scrimmage and coming off the edge this year is going to really showcase that.
Yeah. I think that I would go with the over on that. Personally, just from what we've seen from training camp, from his work outside the facility, just his grind, his ability to um, put the most pressure, apply the most pressure from himself onto his own shoulders. I think that when you wake up in the at the beginning of the day and you look yourself in the mirror and you understand that I'm the person that's going to push myself. I don't need the outside noise to be motivated. I think that that's only the great ones have that. Truthfully, the Kobe's in basketball. You think about other sports, but I think Micah's he has that. He has that leadership and he has that I want to be great attitude. That I think it's not an if, it's a win for Micah. I think that ultimately it will be his first defensive player of the year this time, and I say first because I think he's going to get a couple, if not three. So who knows? I think that he has that strength in him, and just the pass rush moves continue to develop. Working with guys like Andrew Whitworth over the offseason, adding those tools. I think it's just like I said, it's an if or it's a win, not an if. Now, another thing that the chat was mentioning, Purdy has to show me two things. One, can he continue his play from last year? And two, how healthy is his elbow? It wasn't a minor injury, and established the past said that. What's your guys' takes on Purdy? Do you think that he can kind of repeat, or are you concerned about the elbow at all, or what's your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's gonna show some holes. He surprised a lot
Mm.
of people last year. A lot of people they've had all off season to kind of watch and look for him. And I think the one thing with the arm, he never really had a deep throwing passing. He didn't throw a lot deep anyway,
Mm.
right? So the arm, they're not going to throw a lot of deep passes. This is going to be a lot of sideline to sideline passes. Wide receiver screens, quick hitches, those kinds of things, getting the ball into Debo's hands, and those kind of passes, get it to Kittle over the middle, and just so I'm not sure the elbow is going to be a huge factor for them because in this offense they don't throw the ball deep a ton. So he doesn't really have to do that. Ayuk is a speed receiver, get the ball in his hands on the other side, and let these guys just make plays.
Yeah, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, you just have too much ability across the room there with Ayuk and Debo and Christian McCaffrey. I think we've actually already seen the ceiling of what Brock Purdy is going to be in San Francisco throughout last season. I don't think there's going to be much progression. I think he is what we all kind of think he is, a game manager that they're just going to be friendly towards within that offense. It's going to be a lot of him trying to, whether it's handing the ball off or dinking and dunking, just getting the ball into the hands of his playmakers is going to be the extent of it. So coming off of that injury shouldn't be, I don't think, concerning for us as fans or even the 49ers fan base. But I don't think they're going to do anything to actually try and re-injure or do anything to that elbow anyways.
You know, my if I was a 49ers fan, my biggest fear would be that he's not a game manager. And what I mean by that is if he has so much confidence in himself that he can make those tight window throws and play out of the scheme that Kyle Shanahan has set up, because he likes those guys that don't have the swagger, that are just kind of yes men as far as quarterbacks go. So if you get a guy like Brock Purdy, which I think he does kind of have that swagger, like, hey man, I'm good. I can fit this ball here. I can do this. I think that that's going to get him in trouble more often than not. And especially with Kyle Shanahan, he has a short leash on his quarterbacks anyways, in regards to how much he wants them to air it out and really test the corners. So I think my biggest fear would be that he's not a game manager. As far as the elbow goes, I have no idea. I haven't really been keeping up with that stuff, but it seems like he's good to go. We'll see. It's on the throwing arm, so maybe that does affect him. I know that the thumb injury for Dak, nobody wanted to talk about that after the surgery, but that stuff is still healing. Like that doesn't just heal overnight. Like you get the surgery and it's supposed to correct what happened, but that doesn't mean it is healed. So I think that thing was overblown as well with the interceptions. Like if you can't grip the football like you typically do, you can't spin it the way you typically do, it affects your game. And I think also, factor in the juggled balls and the lack of a mind ball mentality from the wide receivers that hurt Dak as well. So, um, did you guys have anything else you kind of wanted to touch on, or what was your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think last year Purdy had 67% pass completion, which is great. And his quarterback rating for the year was like 107. Again, really, really good. 13 touchdowns. He had 4 interceptions, if I remember seeing it right.
Yeah.
Control.
But again, that wasn't for an entire season. There wasn't a lot of film. There wasn't a lot of time to get kind of
How many games
what
did he
his
play in that time span? Can somebody pull that up for me?
Was it 8-0 that they went in that winning stretch they had with him?
8 games, man. That's 8 games. He threw 13
Half your season.
interceptions, or threw 13 touchdowns. You equate that, he would have more touchdowns thrown than Jalen Hurts last year, and just a little bit more interceptions thrown. Obviously, he doesn't give you the upside with the running ability, but that's pretty impressive. I won't look down on that at all.
no, but I do think the Steelers are going to get after him.
Yeah.
The defense for the Steelers, they're going to come after him. They're
That-
going to see if that elbow is feeling good or not. They're going to definitely go for it.
They got some pass rushers there in the Steel City. That's my bold prediction. I think that the Steelers are winning week 1. After they lose, 20 by 20 points, you can come back and tell me I'm a stupid head or whatever you want to do. But but that's my boldy, man. You guys,
listen.
I like it.
That's go big or go home, right? I mean, listen. I do think, and the Steelers are tough at home.
Yeah.
They're not a pushover in Pittsburgh, and that's an electric crowd. The atmosphere is fantastic, and I know this may not make a difference, or it may. Their kicking situation in San Francisco isn't the best right now either.
And on the other
Heinz
side,
Field is a tough place to kick.
I mean, on the other side, Bosworth or whatever for the Steelers is a pretty good kicker. So they have the home field advantage. They have a kicker that's pretty good, pretty solid. And then they have one of the best defenses in their own right. I mean, the Steelers have a good defense. I mean, their offense is kind of young, getting going. But one thing I know about Mike Tomlin is he's going to get his guys prepared and motivated for each week. So. Do you guys have any other bold predictions or stuff that you guys want to have on record so when it happens you can say haha I was so smart, or act like it never happened?
Like,
you mean for week 1?
Mm-hmm. Week 1. We'll hold it to week 1 for right now.
All right, go ahead, Zach.
See, now I'm just trying to make up something crazy off the top of my head. Like, CeeDee Lamb has a Megatron game where he goes like 20 receptions for 300 yards or something. But
goodness, I would love that. I would love that.
Dak Prescott throws the ball 80 times. Yeah, no, I don't really know. I think everything we kind of keyed in on was given. Week 1 is a pretty easy outlook as far as what we believe in the team can do. Just regarding the Cowboys versus Giants. I do think we get a huge game from Brandon Cooks. I absolutely think that he is a plus 100-yard kind of guy, 1 touchdown kind of guy. I really believe in Dak finally being able to have that type of speed on the offense and taking advantage of it to me, is seemingly one of the first times in his career. So I don't know if that's necessarily a bold prediction for Brandon Cooks to have, 100 yards, a couple touchdowns or something, but it's something that I really would like to see out of him.
That would set him up for the 7th 1,000-yard season for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely believe he gets that 7th 1,000-yard season.
Okay, there's a boldy for you.
I got a couple of bold ones. Week 1 outside of the Cowboys, I think the Chargers score 38 points against the Dolphins, and Kellen Moore and his offense out there. I think that just is like inevitable to happen, right? He leaves Dallas, he goes somewhere else, and they score a bunch of points. The other thing I think is for Dallas, I probably shouldn't even put this in the air, but I think Aubrey is perfect on his kicks on Sunday night.
Ooh,
I like that one.
That's bold.
I really
right
like
there,
that one.
but I like it. Man, I'm trying to think about the week 1 predictions. I'm going to go bold right here, and maybe I'm just a little bit superstitious, but I said Jets beat the Buffalo Bills Monday night to open their season. And that's maybe that's just me not wanting to play a team that lost in week 2 against them, but hey, we'll see. The Bills are a very good team, but the Jets, they have one of the best rosters in the league. Whether or not you believe Aaron Rodgers has regressed a little bit or not, 1 year ago, if you take out last year, he was MVP. So still got some good football left in him, and we'll see it. With that being said, I do want to read this little chat real quick. I think the Steelers will win. My upset pick, though, is the Patriots over the Eagles. So that's a bold one in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Mac
I'll
makes
take that one all day.
Yeah, I'll take that too. Here's the finish thing, though. I think Mac takes a step up this year, and the Eagles take a step back and start slow. So hey, I would love that, man. Eagles lose, we get the dub. No, hey, I like that. Did you
That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have anything else, or we're gonna call it
Listen,
quits?
yeah, man, I just want to thank you guys. I appreciate it. It's awesome to get to talk ball with you guys and get to different perspectives. And what I love about it is, when you're talking, you're bringing knowledge behind what you're talking about. It's not just throwing stuff out in the air, and that's appreciated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll absolutely second that while I'm here. I think it's very hard, especially on social media nowadays, to find guys that aren't just going to throw what is mainstream or what's trending right now, to actually just kind of sit down and break down what we feel about the team, whether we disagree with each other or not. I've loved and enjoyed every bit of it, so appreciative as well.
Absolutely. Guys, do you guys want to shout out your Twitters or anything where people can find you guys real quick?
Zach?
Yeah, sure. You can find me. It's going to be at Pulse of the Star on all accounts, all platforms that I have, including YouTube.
Hey, and Mike?
Yeah, mine's at Mike Gray, Gray, 214.
There you go. Hey guys, this is Boys in the Zone. I'm your host, EJ Savage. If you guys liked this content, possibly subscribe, like the video, leave comments. We love when the chat is active and conversing with us and whatnot. If you're a Cowboys fan, I personally think my channel is a must follow. I have new content coming out each week, and as far as my Twitter, I have stuff basically every single day. So if you're on Twitter, go ahead and follow me over there at Boys in the Zone. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, on the chat too.
Peace.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you,
Take
guys.
care.
Yep. See you guys.